Now this, rich, white, and refusing to vaccinate. The people most likely to decline to have their children vaccinated tend to be white, well-educated and affluent. Dr. Marc Siegel is here. Now, wait a second. I said well-educated. You know, that's not true, right?
In this particular study, it's not true, and that's really important. Education did not predict that you were going to turn down vaccines. Only being rich and white predicted it.
Okay, now, why did this group of people, rich, affluent, white people, why do they refuse vaccination?
I think it's because they're not educated. I think because they're rich, they think they're immune to disease. I don't think they understand the basic reason we vaccinate. You know what the reason is? Everybody, if I asked all three of you, you would say the same thing. It's to protect myself. It's not. The reason to vaccinate is to protect the community against the disease. Especially true in measles, because measles is wildly infectious. Wildly. 90% of people will get measles if it's in the room. If we don't vaccinate the whole community against measles, and that means more than 92% are vaccinated, 1/4 of schools in California are not compliant with that 92% because of these white affluent people. And you know what happens? Measles is reemerging in California because of the Jenny McCarthy effect.
Well, I don't know what the Jenny McCarthy effect is.
I'm about to tell you.
But it's autism, isn't it? It's the fear of autism. Isn't that what's going on here?
And that's the Jenny McCarthy effect. It's the fear of autism.
Which has been totally discredited, I believe.
Completely debunked, study after study after study. Now, it's not to say, by the way, that vaccines have no side effects. If I come on here and say vaccines have no side effects, people don't believe me. And yes, some people are more prone to side effects than others. But you know what's worse than vaccination by far? Measles. Measles, mumps. Sure. So you don't want these diseases reemerging. We could have an argument about a flu vaccine, and you and I often do. That's not a great vaccine. The MMR vaccine is a great vaccine. School children should have it, and the disturbing trend is we've doubled the amount of kids now that are taking exemptions for non-medical reasons in California. 3% of kids in California are opting out because of their parents.
What are you going to do about this? I mean, the medical profession as a whole is obviously in favor of vaccination. I take your point entirely. What are you going to do?
We've got to do a better job of educating, just as we've now done today, on the issue that you want to protect your pregnant wife, you want to protect a sick child, you want to protect...
Can't you legislate and say, you can't get into school unless you're vaccinated against X, Y, Z? That was the way it was in my day. Well,
that is a law, by the way. And the problem is it's a state-by-state law, but in California there's more wiggle room. They tried to clamp down on that over the past year in California. Obviously, it's not successful. I get nervous when I hear the word mandatory anything, but I think something like the MMR vaccine is something you should have before you go to kindergarten.
All right. We take your point, Doctor, on this one.
One thing I think that's affecting people's attitudes as well is it's been so long we've eradicated these things. A generation now is beginning to think it's natural. Yeah. That it doesn't exist. That to have to take action is a strange thing because they haven't seen it happen to them.
Hugely important, Tammy. They haven't seen the encephalitis, the brain infection you can get from measles.
Yes. I mean, these are things where we've gotten so good at things, people think, well, this is how life is. Just like our freedom, like being safe from terrorism. It's like, well, gosh, everything's fine. You know, George W. Bush, it's natural to be safe, not necessarily.
I was brought up with polio as a distinct threat.
That's right.
Exactly. For the vaccine.
And when people travel to China, I just sent someone to China yesterday how to give them a polio vaccine.
Yeah. Good for Doctor, thank you very much indeed. Good stuff today.